Well, welcome back. This is the week of Easter, I guess. Sunday being, that'll be the beginning of next week. But either way, you know, Friday's Good Friday. And so this is a shorter term of court for us this week. We're starting a murder case today that occurred off Highway 19 between Conway and Loris. Up in that area, and since it is going to be a 4-day week, there's several co-defendants, but we're just trying one of those today. So that should be over with about Thursday, and we'll let you know next week how that went. Obviously, this week we got an interesting question on the line. It was about family court, and of course our office does show up in family court, but the way we show up is when you have juveniles that do the same crimes as adults. The family court judge hears those cases, and it's not a standard of beyond a reasonable doubt. The overwhelming thing there is what is in the best interest of the child. That's the standard that they look at in family court. So the question was dealing with, I feel like my attorney or their attorney or a judge didn't do what was proper. Anytime in cases like that, you feel that you've been shorted, it's always best to go to them, tell your attorney your concerns, but ultimately the bar, the South Carolina bar, is who license judges and prosecutors and lawyers to handle those cases. So you can go to the Disciplinary Counsel, Office of Disciplinary Counsel, ODC, and if you think you've got a concern, there's paperwork you can fill out there. Now, in addition to that question, we've had some questions about indictments, as this week is former President Trump is being indicted. Actually, today at some point, he's supposed to turn himself in and get booked, basically. That process generally starts out by if a crime is committed in front of an officer, they can arrest you and then go out and get an arrest warrant later. But most of the time what happens is the officer goes and gets an arrest warrant and uses that arrest warrant as the authority to put you in jail. The next big thing is you would have a bond hearing, probably that day or the next day. But a judge, whether it was committed in the presence of the officer or if the arrest warrant was signed up front, a judge, a detached judge, a magistrate, would hear the facts, determine that he believes it's more likely than not that a crime was committed, and then sign an arrest warrant. Like I said, then you go in and you go get booked. They take your fingerprints, that sort of stuff. You get a bond hearing. The next thing is what's known as a preliminary hearing. And that's where a different magistrate comes in. They hear the case. They're again just looking at whether or not it's more likely than not it's a substantial right that defendants have. And if that judge, after hearing from the officer and a few other witnesses, determines that there's still probable cause, he will waive that up. And when he waives it up, it just says, I'm not going to block your ability to go to the grand jury. The next step that a defendant has, the third step, is the grand jury. And that is a group of 18 people that meet once a month. If you ever get a grand jury summons, it means if you get stuck on that grand jury, you're going to meet once a month, not like a regular jury where you would meet just 1 week and be through with jury service. You'll meet 12 times, once a month, and basically go over every indictment that comes through that jurisdiction. If 12 of the 18 people in that room believe that there are probable cause to go forward, they will take a stamp and stamp it true billed, and then the foreman will sign it. And this is rarely happens, but if they don't believe that there's enough, they'll stamp it no bill, and the grand jury foreman will sign that. That means you can't go forward. That paperwork, that indictment, is much more important to the prosecutor than the arrest warrant, because that is your golden ticket. You can't go to trial without an indictment, a true billed indictment. And when you hear that all the time, it just means that 12 people have agreed that it's more likely than not that a crime was committed, and committed by a particular person. What makes the situation for the former president much different is that this didn't result from the police making an arrest. This was basically jumping to part 3, which is skipping in front of the arrest warrant, skipping in front of the preliminary hearing, going straight to the grand jury. And the district attorney in that area went to the grand jury, asked them, they believe that there's probable cause, and their foreperson stamped it and signed it, that was a true bill indictment. When that happens, the process is sort of short-wired. So what you would have to do at that point is to bring the defendant in, make arrangements for him to come in and be booked and be served with a copy of that arrest warrant. That indictment now serves as the arrest warrant. And that's what is supposed to go on today. There's a lot of other issues there. I've mentioned this before, but if I were to be in that position, I would be scared to death of having to answer to the ODC, or Office of Disciplinary Counsel, especially if I run on this idea, if you elect me, if you give me money, I will get this particular person. That is the very time that you probably need to recuse yourself and get out of the way of that. So that kind of wraps up what we started talking about as ODC, and we ended up on indictments, but you see where it all comes back together. There will be people that reach out to New York's equivalents of the Office of Disciplinary Counsel and says this person could not be fair, and malicious prosecution and all of that stuff. So that will be in the works. It'll probably take years to untangle, and we'll just have to sort of watch and see together how that all unfolds. But in addition to all of that, I wish you a happy Easter. Spend as much time as you can with your family, and just really think about the meaning of this season. This is a really important time to reconnect with yourself, with your Creator, and with your family, and take some time and just reflect on all of that. It's a beautiful time of the year, and I hope you are all safe and enjoy your longer Easter weekend.